Welcome to Napa Valley Inside Out. I'm Latife Hayson, and I am delighted to be hosting this podcast, shining a light on one of the most beautiful and coveted lifestyles in the world. If you're interested in developing a property, planting a vegetable garden, making olive oil, fashion, architecture, interior design, county rules and regulations, biking paths, art, getting into the wine business, farming practices, the tax benefits of owning a vineyard, or the ultimate private tours and tastings, and all the fabulous annual cultural events we enjoy here, and so much more, then you won't want to miss this show. Every week I will be interviewing amazing talent, vintners, entrepreneurs, leaders, consultants, festival organisers, and well-known personalities in the Valley. They will share their knowledge, experience, advice, goals, passions, and their best-kept secrets. Hello everybody, Jean-Noel Fourmeaux is a 35-year veteran in the wine industry in Napa Valley. He was sent to Napa Valley in 1980 by the French government to spy for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, he sent back a telegram that said, "Looks good, I stay." Please join me in welcoming Jean-Noel Fourmeaux, owner of VGS Chateau Potelle. Welcome, Jean-Noel.
Welcome. Thank you, Latife. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. There's a great story behind this, I'm sure. So tell us how you came to be the spy for the French government.
But you know, in 1976, there was this tasting in Paris, the Judgement of Paris, where California wine won over French wines. And it took a while for the French to realize the slap on the face that they took that day. I think at that time, you know, America was not what it is today in terms of evolution of taste, culinary revolutions. And so the French had an image of America eating hamburger and drinking Coca-Cola. So that was not really making sense that they could make wine that were beating the French wines. So, yes, I came for 6 months and stayed.
That's amazing. So what was so alluring about Napa Valley for you? You were from Bordeaux, you had been a winemaker. So what was so alluring for you when you got here?
So historically, I am a little not conventional. And I live in a very traditional family. And in a traditional environment in Bordeaux, where we have rules and traditions, and it's really difficult to go against the rules and traditions. I figure that it was not worth trying to change the world. I better find a place where I could be myself. So what was attractive to me in California was that there was this spirit of innovation. And you know, the beauty of France is that you have a lot of traditions. The problem of France, you have too many traditions.
Yeah.
The beauty of America is that you have no tradition.
Yeah.
The problem of America is that you have no tradition.
Right.
So I moved from an extreme to the other,
Yes.
but that other extreme is better for me because I can do and express my personality better than I could do in Bordeaux without exploding the relationship with everybody.
Yeah. And having known you forever, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, the French are fantastic. I tell them all the time, the French people are among the best in the world individually. Collectively, they're a nightmare. And since I was not alone, I had to fight a lot of them, I decided it was not worth my time, you know, and my energy. I better put my energy into a country. So it was not easy. Yeah. Because nobody was waiting for me. I was not an expat sent by a company.
Right.
I did not have credit card, I didn't have check account, I didn't have driver license, I didn't have a car, I did not have a house, I didn't have nothing. Wow. And in order to be able to rent a house, I had to give 1 year in cash.
Oh,
because they did not know if I would be staying and what. In order to buy a car, I paid my car in cash. You know, so it was not really easy. Nobody was waiting for us.
Right.
But, and I'm sure we made a lot of mistakes because of that. But yes. The truth is, this is something that was good for me because of who I am. I can express myself. and in this imaginative country, and where innovation is welcome. The French have done tremendous progress since then, but I'm very happy here. So
that's wonderful, wonderful story. Were you as a French person received well at that time?
In Napa?
Yes, in Napa, in the wine industry in Napa.
That's an interesting question. Let's say that when I was sent in 1980, I was welcome. Because I was sent for a study, and Americans are so welcoming and generous.
Yes.
They exchange us ideas. The time I came back as wanting to create a winery, that was a little more touchy. Because Americans are welcoming, but they don't love too much that you take a piece of a cake. And so it has not been easy every day, no.
And still?
No, not still. But I can tell you one thing. In 2003, when there was a war against Iraq,
yes,
and France did not go with the Americans, I lost 200 customers in one day. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I don't think it would happen now, 15 years later. But I had been already in the United States for 20 years at that time.
Yeah.
So I guess my strong California accent make them think every day that I'm from France, you know? So yes, it has been a long process of integration.
Do you remember roughly how many wineries were here at that time in 1980?
Yes, 72.
72?
When I moved here, it was 72 wineries.
So now there's 475 bricks and mortar wineries and another 1,100 that they know of labels. So there was 72. Wow. So close relationships between the vintners back in that time?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
A fantastic world, in my view. That is not exactly the world we have today. But at that time, there was passion. Yes. All the people were so eager to produce higher quality. And passion was everywhere. I mean, I remember some friends that are no longer owners of wineries because they sold, that we had fantastic time opening bottles of wine, discussing. We had a problem we could exchange. There was not the sense of competition that there is today just because we are not at the same level of development than we are today. Today, it's a totally different animal in Napa Valley.
Totally different. Totally different. So who would you say were your closest friends back then? What wineries were you working closely with to share ideas and winemaking?
But you know, the first I have to say is naturally Robert Mondavi, because Robert Mondavi was the personnel that welcomed you no matter what. Okay? And on the top of that, we had a lot of experience with Robert. And he opened a lot of doors, because even when people were a little, not hostile, but a little, you know, anti, he said, no, it's worthwhile talking, you know, and exchanging. But I remember also, Warren Winiarski, with a great personality, in my view, a great winemaker, but a great human being as well. You have, of course, the Barrett of Montelina, that have been very close. You have a Groff, that we started basically at the same time. You know, you have a Spotswood that still produce outstanding quality, and we basically started also at the same time. So, you know, you have a lot of wineries today that don't make any noise, like Paradigm, you know, Spotswood, VGS Chateau Potelle. We don't make any noise, but we are still there, and we produce among the very best in Napa Valley.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But you started making your own wine in 1983. You started Chateau Potelle. And why did you choose Mount Vida to make your wine? I mean, I know that you bought a winery up there ultimately, but were your first wines from Mount Vida?
Yes.
And why was that?
It's because heat, for me, is an enemy. And I consider Napa Valley can be very hot. Let's say you go to a restaurant and you order a salmon, and your salmon arrives overcooked. The chef used too much heat to cook. The problem with the salmon overcooked is that you need 10 minutes to chew before you can swallow, and it has no flavors because there is no more juice, and the juice holds the flavors. So heat is an enemy of a chef. Heat, in my view, is an enemy of winemaking as well. Because when the fruit are ripe, becoming overripe is very fast. And sometimes we have 105 in Napa Valley floor. And that's too much heat because, when you have 900 aromas potentially in a berry of grapes, when you have too much heat, you have one aroma that becomes so powerful that it hides the smaller nuances. I compare wine and woman and makeup. Because, I know in America the concept is the bigger the better. But when it comes to wine, food, and makeup, less is more.
Oh, yes, true.
Because you are in a social event, you see a woman, if she has too much makeup, it's immediately noticeable. And you don't see her face, you don't see her natural beauty anymore. It's hiding. Heat, for me, hides the beauty of the grapes. So I immediately look for where we could have cooler weather. So that's why I wanted to be on elevation. And
is that why you prefer mountain fruit? Is that the sole reason you prefer mountain fruit to valley floor?
No, there is another reason, is that valley floor fruit. So in my vineyard on Mount Vida, the root system goes 47 feet down. It goes down and dig to get nutrients and energy because there is no water and the soils are very poor. And so we produce a food that is very tonic, that is very muscular, that is very concentrated. On the valley floor is big, juicy, and love handles. Okay, so it's a very different type of food. Yeah. And both produce outstanding wines, but we start with a very different. So obviously, what you start with, different grapes, is going to give you a different style of wine. But there is room for every style.
Yes, yeah. So you started your own winery, your own label, and was it difficult to get contracts back then?
Yes and no. No, because since we had been 6 months there as official wine taster, people were, knowing us. Yes, because everything in America is about money. So can you pay?
Yeah,
that's the only question.
Yeah.
And since we were paid, I guess we were having the contract until we bought our vineyards and winery.
Right. So then you ended up buying on Mount Vida. Have you ever made wine Cabernet from anywhere else other than Mount Vida?
Yes, Alexander Valley.
Oh, really?
I love the fruit of Alexander Valley.
In the hillside?
Yes, I think Alexander Valley is probably the closest fruit from Bordeaux.
Is that right? Huh. So then you had your own winery up on Mount Vida, and you sold that maybe 10 years ago. So once again, you had to go back to buying grapes, having a contract with a grape grower, right? I know today that's very, very difficult to get into the wine business. We'll get to that in a minute. But if you don't have your own vineyard or your own winery, you don't need a winery in my opinion, but if you don't have your own vineyard, it's very, very difficult to find great grapes now because the demand is so high. As I was saying, 1,100 maybe labels in addition to 475 wineries. And a lot of those wineries, they also buy grapes. They don't just have their own grapes, estate wines, estate grapes. So today it's very, very difficult. But you are now have your tasting room and garden in St. Helena, which is gorgeous. And you buy all your grapes and you do custom crush, which I think is probably the smartest way to do business these days. But anyway, we'll let you speak to that. And so how, for you, I would imagine, because you've been in the Valley for so long with so many great relationships, like people like Tor Kenwood has as well, that you can still get contracts, and you've probably still got the same contracts you've had for a long time with terrific grapes. But it's very difficult for people coming here now wanting to start a label and finding good vineyards, right, to contract with.
So I would say that I'm going to go a little further. Mm-hmm. The reason I sold the winery and the reason I do what I do today is because I had 3 cancers. And I was 6 years in treatment. So for 6 years, I was really in and off out of the valley. And when I came back from my cancers, I decided that my life was really, very potentially finishing at any time, and that I did not want to have all the overhead that we had before.
And worry.
And, it's different when you are 35 years old, different when you are 60 years old. And I did not want to leave to my children something that was making no sense financially. So yes, I restarted by buying grapes. And I did not have any problem really having contracts, just because I think I have a good reputation as a human being, but also as a professional. And I really did not have any problems, even though the grapes we buy are very expensive. But people understand that at VGS Chateau Potelle we produce quality, and I'm very demanding. This is known by everybody, my employees included. But the result is in the bottle, and we deliver. We deliver in money for them, and we deliver in quality. So there is pride also for these people to be associated with us when we make wine of that quality. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it's a different type of business.
Yeah, and you've been here for a long time, so you can make phone calls and get some great grapes. Let me ask you, financially, do you think it's been better for you to not have the winery and have your own real estate? Financially, business-wise, what do you think?
For my second part, yes.
Yeah.
For the first part, no, it would have been a mistake.
Yeah.
But because we are there for a long term. But after my cancers, yes, it has been the best decision.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so for people coming here to the Valley now who want to get into the wine business, what advice would you have for them if they have never been in the wine business before?
Unless you make a commitment of 25 years, don't even start.
And you say that because?
Because it's a tough business. This is not a dreamy business. Many Americans, they think it's a dreamy business, but it's not a dreamy business. My family has been in the business for a long time, so I have seen ups and downs. There is a lot of down. There is also quite a few ups, thank God. But you need two things in that business. You need passion. Money is not enough. You need passion. And you need a long-term vision. Because even if you have money but not the long-term vision, you are going to lose confidence very fast. And you are going to make the wrong decisions. This is a business where you need to make the right decision all the time. And the right decision is never the financially good decision.
Right, yeah.
That's absolutely a no-no. So go invest in another business, but this business is very tough.
And absentee ownership is really not smart, is it? Even if you have a team in place, I've seen it. It just doesn't work. You have to be here. And even if it's 3 or 4 days a week, you have to be here overseeing your business. And what's really interesting, I always say to people, I interview so many people that have been in the wine industry for decades, and they're still traveling and selling their wine. They're still marketing. They're still working so hard, and they've been in the business for decades. It's incredible. It's a sexy business, but it's not an easy business.
No. I mean, I'm lucky in that matter that I don't travel to sell my wines anymore, but I do go back to auctions and things like that. And we see all the same. We are all there, and it's promotion.
Yeah.
I do not sell my wines to the distribution.
Right.
So I don't sell my wines to stores and restaurants. Therefore, I don't need to go and promote all the time to people who don't want to be convinced of anything and have too much.
Right.
So I'm lucky, but yes, it's an exhausting business because you need to be on top of it, and they want to see you. Yes. I have a fantastic team. Yeah. But the wine is better if I am there.
Of course.
No question.
Of course. Yeah, the experience.
Yes.
Yeah,
so you need to travel, you need to visit, you need to be in front of them. In my case, they come here to see me. Yeah. I'm lucky, but I need to be there.
Yeah, and you're hosting events all the time. There's always something. So tell us about the wine tasting experience at VGS Chateau Potelle.
When we had the winery on Mount Videur, we're in a rugged environment.
Yes.
Because now Mount Videur is rugged, and it's gorgeous but rugged. And when I restarted after my illness, I decided that I needed to upgrade the hospitality in Napa Valley. I thought that Napa Valley we produce outstanding wines that are expensive, and we don't give a respect to our customers that they deserve. And so I wanted to create a brand new experience. So I associated myself with Latife, which is a Michelin star restaurant here in the valley, and we create food bites for every wine that we taste. So if you come to taste at Chateau Potelle, we are going to serve you 6 wines, and there will be a food bite going with each of the wines. And we change the food bites every month so that you can come back, okay?
Yeah,
but we change also the
yeah.
wines.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to give the customer an experience that was worth the price of the wine, and if they have the money to buy and the taste, was respectful of their tastes.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to go that way.
Yeah, and I've had those wine tasting experiences, and they really are fantastic. And your team, by the way, is extraordinary.
I'm very lucky.
Which really allows you to do your tours. So you go overseas, you take clients overseas, right, sometimes?
Yes, I take clients definitely in September in Bordeaux with me.
Yes.
I take clients in South Africa,
Yeah.
in Argentina,
Yeah.
sometimes in Burgundy, but Burgundy is a little more difficult because the vineyards are, the producers are smaller. So if I bring 20 Americans in a cellar, they drink everything. As in Bordeaux, it's
Yeah.
mono wine. Yes, I love that, and I just had this weekend a dinner for alumni of a Bordeaux trip, and I opened from my cellar only 6 liters of 95 Mouton Rothschild, Margaux, Smith Lafitte, Angelus. Because when you sell direct to the consumer, like I do, you need to entertain your base, and
Right.
you need to bring them. And it's not only about VGS Chateau Potelle. As a matter of fact, there are some couples that we send to Crocker Star, another couple we send to Spotswood, another couple we send to Palmas. We try, this is okay, because I know they are not going to buy only Chateau Potelle wines,
Right.
as long as they buy the main effort, okay? So there are other wineries, and I think there are other experience and there are other styles. And you need to respect and love all these styles. They may not be the wine that you like, but at least you need to be exposed to the style experience.
Yes. Yeah. So how often do you take these take clients on these trips?
Bordeaux twice a year. Normally it's once, but the 2020 is already sold out.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
I do 2 in 19, and I'm probably going to add a second one in 2020. South Africa, I do 1 a year. Argentina, 1 a year. Burgundy, 1 every 3 years.
So how long are the trips?
1 week. I meet them at Sunday at the hotel, and I drop them Saturday.
Incredible 7-day experience. And so that's just your clients?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was very fortunate to be there at the barrel auction this year. What a fantastic year for you.
Yes.
So you released your new wine, the red blend of Fourmeaux, and it was, you broke the record, you can tell us by how much in a minute, for the barrel auction, in the history of the barrel auction in 38 years. So tell us about that.
But I never did a barrel auction. So
You've never done it. You've never been part of the barrel auction.
No. So it was, for me, it was part of going back to Napa Valley, because I restarted Chateau Potelle 7 years ago, and it took me 7 years to be reestablished, to have my clients, to make my profit that I do, and now we are back 2,000 club members, and we're on allocation and things like that. So my employees wanted me to create a wine called Fourmeaux, my name.
First time for your name.
And that's a no-no in my education. But they convinced me finally. So we decided that it would be fun to put the first release of that wine at Napa Valley barrel tasting. And
for our viewers, this is Auction Napa Valley, which is hosted every year. It goes for 4 days. It's absolutely fantastic. And one of the days is the barrel auction. So
what was really interesting, I was with Kale pouring, my winemaker, and we had a great time. And because I have a great winemaking team, the same way the hospitality team is fantastic, but we are in communion in the winemaking team the same way. And the auction started at 10 or 11, I think, and 2 hours later we started to have people coming back to us and say, this is the best wine of the show today, this is the best wine. Well, we are happy. Of course we are happy, okay? Especially with all the wines that are there that are delicious.
Amazing wines.
And started at 30 minutes before the end. Our wine was at the same price than 2 other wineries, and I would have been flattered to finish at the same level than these guys. And suddenly we are told that there is a bid online at $8,500 a case. Wow. and right in front of me there is a lady that said, I go for $10,000. And then we see on the thing $10,050 and then $10,500. And then there is a stop.
For a case of wine, by the way.
Yeah, a case of wine. And I look at Kayla and say, wow, good, fantastic. And the winery pouring next to me say, wow, this is your day. And then at 10 minutes before the end, 15,000. I say, holy shit, that's amazing, you know. And then 2 minutes before the end, it was 17,500. And then 10 seconds before the end, it was a case of 20,000. So our 10 cases were sold for 114,300.
And that broke the record by?
But the second behind us was $45,000 less expensive.
Oh my God, it was so exciting.
For us, you know, we are not a mainstream winery because we don't sell in stores, we don't sell in a restaurant. So we are only known by the people who have good taste.
Yeah, I know. I was there. I loved it. It was so exciting.
Oh,
it was so exciting.
It was a fabulous moment.
Yeah. Are you going to go in next year?
Yes.
Of course.
Because the 2017 is spectacular.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yes. Spectacular.
Oh, good to know.
Spectacular.
Okay, that's great news. Yeah. Tell us about the evolution of appellations in Napa Valley.
Well, that's a good thing. Besides the political character that was attached to them at the beginning.
Yes.
And I think for some it could be reduced.
Yeah, and where they drew the lines.
Where they drew the line, absolutely.
Right.
So, you know, I have a lot of respect for French on that matter. Mm-hmm. Here, money is often the last word. Mm-hmm. The French know. And that's something that I hats off to them. So I have my thoughts on where Napa Valley will be in 30 years, but I think that, you know, Mount Videur is a great appellation, Oakville. I'm very happy now because I make wine from Mount Videur, my historic appellation, Oakville and Rutherford, and which are the three appellations historic for me of Napa Valley. But I think it's good, it helps the consumer, as long as it's true. You know, what do we call Mount Videur? Mm-hmm. A winery and a vineyard that is 400 feet elevation, or is at 2,300 feet elevation like we are? Mm-hmm. That's the limit to me of the appellation.
Yeah. We've just got a couple of minutes left. What do you think that Napa Valley will look like in 10 to 20 years?
So I'm going to say 30 because I will be dead, so like that nobody will come back to me. I think Napa Valley should, if we really want to be the top wine region of the world with Burgundy and Bordeaux, the wineries producing wine in Napa Valley should make wine only from Napa Valley grapes. That's absolutely, for me, the sense of history.
So not blend with grapes from other Sonoma or wherever?
I think that it is really a problem for Napa Valley total recognitions. Mm-hmm. That's a personal view, but that's my French view also. Mm-hmm. The second thing is that Napa Valley is going to change because obviously Carneros doesn't play the same role today than it used to play 30 years ago. Because it's no longer Napa Valley, but it's Napa and Sonoma. We know that we do fantastic Pinot Noir in Russian River and in Sonoma Coast, and that the wines of Carneros might have a little, you know, not maybe at the same caliber. So I think it's going to be to see all of a reorganization, and I think Carneros is a fantastic region, but it will be mostly, definitely for sparkling, and Napa Valley will produce less Chardonnay, because we are absolutely a valley where Cabernet shines, Cabernet of the Bordeaux varietal, but also Syrah. So, you are in Carneros, you have Syrah, and you are Montvideur, you have Syrah. Or in Calistoga, you have Syrah. Totally three different Syrahs. And I prefer the Syrah of Carneros than to the Pinot Noir of Carneros. And that's why I think that, that appellation has a lot to reorganize by itself. I think Montvideur is also going to reorganize itself because we have a lot of grapes on Montvideur, but really we should narrow what we grow to be very focused on red Bordeaux. When I arrived in Napa Valley, a vineyard was owned by a doctor and a lawyer, 10 acres, and it had an acre of Riesling, an acre of Gewürztraminer, an acre of Zinfandel, an acre of Cabernet. So now it's no longer the same. So Napa Valley is 55% Cabernet. And that's because we discover that's the best grape growing here for us. And the more it's going to go, the more we're going to be obliged to specialize because our market is worldwide. Americans don't realize that China is the second vineyard landowner in the world. And that the industry of winemaking is growing at speed of light, making fantastic wine. Because they took the French, they took the Americans, and they go faster than both of them. Okay? So we need to think globally how we are going to stay at the level of quality and reputation in the world. And that's only by selection. And selection starts by yourself when you own something to be certain that what you produce is the highest quality.
Jean-Noel, I have to have you back on the show because we're out of time, so we need to do another show. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you next week.